traeth Porthmawr yn Sir Benfro, un o'r traethau gorau a lleoliad poblogaidd i ymwelwyr i'r ardal. Ond dros 1000 o flynyddoedd yn ôl, cafodd y traeth hwn ei ddefnyddio ar gyfer pwrpas cwbl gwahanol.
There was a stone-built chapel here, which was then ruined by the year 1600. At the bottom of the archaeological deposits is a large stone wall that's probably pre-7th century. So between that and the 13th, 14th century chapel, there's a whole series of graves and other things.
Allwch chi gweld pa mor agos mae Capel Sant Padrig at y môr, ac mae erydiad y tir wedi bod yn broblem ers talwm. Ar ôl y stormydd yn 2014, cawsant cyllid gan y Llywodraeth Cymraeg trwy cadw mwyn cloddio'r safle. Dyn ni yn ôl nawr yn 2015 mwyn cario mlaen y gwaith hyn i sicrhau na fydd unrhyw tystiolaeth archeolegol eraill yn cael ei golli i'r môr.
Last year, 2014, we dealt with the immediate threat to the site. These are the burials which are being exposed and actually eroded. This year, we're doing a second strip a bit further inland, but still affected by erosion. But once we get down to the top of the archaeological deposits, we treat everything very carefully. The first thing we do is record everything by drawings, by photographs, written descriptions, so you build up a whole picture of the site, which you can then reconstruct back in the office.
Mae'r safle yn eithaf cymhleth, gydag amryw o haenau gwahanol. Yr haen gynharaf yw'r strwythur carreg yma, sy'n cyndyddio'r beddau dyn ni wedi cloddio hyd yn hyn. Y strwythur diweddaraf yw wal y capel canoloesol hwyr.
So what we're sitting on here is the earliest built structure of the site. It's made of these massive beach boulders, and it's a wall which runs under everything else on the site. When this wall began to fall apart and sand built up against it, the kiss graves we have on this site were cut through it. And there's one behind me here which is cut right through the wall. We know that some of the graves here date to the 7th or 8th century.
So we have a really good example of a stone-lined kist burial here. Stone-lined kist burials were fairly common during the early medieval period in Wales. As a grave, it's actually quite compact. And what they'll have done is they'll have cut the grave and then lined the perimeter of the grave with these stone slabs. They'll have then deposited the body and capped it with a series of fairly large flat stone slabs known as lintels.
One of the things about this site which is perhaps unexpected, just how well preserved the human bone is. But here, because it's in windblown sand, it's very good preservation, which analysis, you get an awful lot of information from the analysis of the bone, which you can't do on sites where the bone's not so well preserved. It really tells us how the people were living, what their diet was, what their age structure was. A huge amount of information we can obtain from this site. It does seem as though the latest use of this cemetery site was suited for children.
Here we've got a really small kist grave, very well constructed, the side slabs here, and beautifully covered on the top with quite a large number of white quartz pebbles. It's actually the third grave found on this site that's been of a very young child and covered with these white quartz pebbles. So at the moment it's looking as if this was a treatment in burial of young individuals that wasn't something that was going on for the adults on the site.
One very nice one which had a cross-marked stone at the head of the grave, which is very unusual to find. In fact, it's a unique find to have a cross-marked stone with a kist grave, and a whole series of other graves of similar date to those.
Mae gyda ni claddedigaeth unigryw yn fan hyn, lle mae yna 2 unigolyn wedi eu claddu gyda'i gilydd. Y syniad ydy bod y 2 unigolyn wedi marw unai ar yr un adeg neu yn agos at ei gilydd. Mae'r braich yma yn perthyn i'r unigolyn yn fan hyn, ac yn amlwg, yn wreiddiol, mi oedd yn gorwedd dros bol yr ail unigolyn. Mae'r llaw wedi clymu yn dyn at ei gilydd. Mae'r fraich yr unigolyn yma wedi plygu yn ôl at ei gilydd ac oedd y llaw yn fan hyn yn agos at y gwddw. Yn y mynwent yma, hwn yw'r unig enghraifft sydd gyda ni hyd yn hyn lle mae 2 unigolyn wedi eu claddu yn yr un bedd.
We have professional staff here from Dyfed Archaeological Trust and from the University of Sheffield, but actually most of the actual excavation is done by local volunteers, and really without their enthusiasm and very hard work, we wouldn't be able to do this excavation.
Dwi'n feddwl fod e'n bwysig iawn I cael gymaint o bobl I gallu helpu y projects yma. Does dim digon arian gyda'r trusts a pob un arall I wneud y gwaith yma. A wedyn mae mwy o ddordeb gyda bobl I gweld beth sy'n mynd mlaen.
Mae'n dyddiorol iawn yn meddwl bod y criw wedi dod yma ar wythnos ma'r chwilio am atebion. A maen nhw'n mynd I ffindo atebion, ond maen nhw'n mynd I adael gyda llawer mwy cwestiynau, wy'n siŵr.
Dwi wedi gweld lot o pobl lleol yn dod mas a maen nhw eisiau gwybod beth sy'n mynd mlaen a mae diddordeb da nhw. A dwi'n credu a pob un yn teimlo mae'n drenu fod popeth yn mynd nôl ar y diwedd, ond fel am a bywyd.
At the moment we haven't quite achieved what we hoped to this year, simply because the site has been so much more complex than we envisaged. So at the end of this season we'll then backfill the site, re-turf it over and hopefully get some more funding for next year.
Mae pob sgerbwd cafodd ei gloddio yn Capel Sant Padrig nawr wedi dod i'r labordy osteolegol yma ym Mhrifysgol Sheffield, ac mae'r broses o recordio'r olion dynol yn gallu dechrau. Mae'r proses yn dechrau trwy cymryd allan pob asgwrn o'r bocs ac yn osod yn ei le yr un. Ac I ddechrau mae'n rhaid I ni recordio pa esgyrn sydd yma a pa rai sydd ddim. Wedyn, allwn ni symud ymlaen I gweld os mae dyn neu ddynes oedd yr unigolyn ac hefyd beth oedd ei hoed. Allwn ni hefyd gweithio allan pa mor dal oedd yr unigolyn trwy fesur yr asgwrn hir. Allwn ni hefyd edrych ar elfennau cemegol yn y dannedd, yn benodol strontium ac ocsigen, oherwydd mae'r elfennau yna yn galluogi ni dweud os oedd yr unigolyn yn lleol i'r ardal lle cawsant ei gladdu pan oedden nhw'n blant. Dyn ni'n gallu wneud hynny oherwydd mae strontium ac ocsigen yn adlewyrchu geoleg ac hefyd y tywydd, yr hinsawdd mewn ardal. Ac o'i cymharu â lle cawsant ei gladdu, os maen nhw'r un peth, mae'n amlwg nath yr unigolyn tyfu fyny yn yr ardal honno. Mae cloddio mynwent yn rhoi'r cyfle I ni adlewyrchu ar pwy oedd y bobl yma ac sut oedden nhw'n byw. Mantais o astudio tystiolaeth archeolegol yw bod yn galluogi ni I ailgreu gwahanol agweddau o'r gorffennol.